Hey guys, welcome to another video. In this video, we'll be revising some concepts of Indian or British rule in India. So let's move on to the first question. Let's move on to the first question. Political causes of 1857. So the political causes of 1857 revolt was first doctrine of lapse, wherein in case the mother or the father died, so the legal heir of that particular kingdom was not recognized as a legitimate ruler. And in that case, the British Empire took over that specific region. Then disrespect shown to some important figures such as Nana Sahib, Badar Shah, Zafar, and Rani Lakshmi. Annexation of Awadh, and finally subsidiary alliance. Okay, so moving on. Economic causes of 1857 revolt. So let's scroll down. Unemployment, poverty, tax on farmers. The farmers were taxed heavily. Indigo cultivation, drain of wealth, wherein the wealth was moved from India to England. Raw material, cheap rates, and finished goods at high price. So if this is a rough diagram of India, okay, that's a bit too horrendous. So if this is a rough diagram of India. So basically, raw materials were exported from India to England. And then the machines in the factories in England would produce finished goods and would re-import it back to India at high prices. So overall, the raw materials would move from India to England. They would be manufactured in England, and the finished goods would be re-imported back into India at high prices. High price, raw materials, and low cost. Okay. Socio and religious causes of 1857 revolt. Socio-religious causes of 1857 revolt, social customs. So the British Empire, the British government in India passed some laws in which one of them was ban on sati, female infanticide, child marriage, and introduction of widow remarriage. So these were some of the laws that were introduced during the British government in India, wherein the Hindu community was specifically hurt by the passage of these laws. Then the activity of Christian missionaries, wherein they would convert Hindus and specifically other religions to Christians. Some of these laws hurt the religious sentiments and feelings of Hindu community and Muslim community. Taxes on temples and mosques, possession of Pundits and Maulvis were reduced. The Pundits were holy figures in Hinduism, and Maulvis are holy figures in the Muslim community. General Service Enlistment Act, wherein a soldier was sent abroad to serve the British Army. So that was a General Service Enlistment Act, and basically in Hinduism it was considered a taboo to travel overseas. So this again hurt the feelings of the Hindu community. The military causes of 1857 revolt. So low salaries were paid to the Indian soldiers. No promotion beyond Subedar. General Service Enlistment Act, as I've explained before. No extra allowances like bhatta. And finally, the soldiers were ill-fed, ill-housed, and were not allowed any religious customs like tilak of Europe. So even though they would serve the British Empire in India, and they were as efficient as the British counterparts, they weren't fed. And they weren't fed as nicely as it was intended to. Moving on, causes of non-cooperation movement in India. So causes of non-cooperation movement, one was Rowlatt Act, wherein you could arrest a person without warrant or without a fair trial. Jallianwala Bagh massacre, wherein a peaceful demonstration was fired upon by the orders of General Dyer. And finally, the Khilafat movement. These are the causes of non-cooperation movement. Causes of civil disobedience movement. Simon Commission, all-white commission. So basically, a commission was sent to India, wherein all 7 members were white and British. And there was not one single Indian representation in the whole commission, consisting of 7 members. Lahore session of Congress, wherein Purna Swaraj was declared, or complete independence. Complete independence. Causes of Quit India movement. Failure of Cripps mission and Japanese threat. So this is a rough diagram of India. So the Japanese threat, the Japanese forces were advancing from the east towards the west, and they were active mainly in the Myanmar and extreme East India region. Moving on, I'll just scroll down a bit. Causes of Salt March. Salt March is also known as Dandi March or Salt Satyagraha. breaking the salt tax by picking up salt. British had monopoly of salt manufacture, so it was taxed, and Indians were not allowed to manufacture salt. All sections of society used salt. So basically, Gandhiji picked up salt because the tax on salt affected all sections of society. So irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your caste or class, basically because salt was used by all sections of the society. It was used by every human because every human had to eat food, and salt was an important ingredient in food. So when you bought salt, tax was levied on that salt. So basically, all sections of society used salt. This was a resentment. This was basically why Indians resented the British, and Gandhiji purposefully picked up salt because he wanted to unify all the Indians. Why was Simon Commission boycotted? So as I said before, Simon Commission was a commission consisting of 7 members, and none of them had an Indian representation. Only 7 British members, no Indian representative. Why was Rowlatt Act boycotted? Arrest without warrant and without a fair trial. Black Act, arrest without reason and without warrant, in camera trial, and suspension of habeas corpus. So basically, I'll just show you what habeas corpus is. So habeas corpus is basically a person can report an unlawful detention or imprisonment. So if you were imprisoned without a reason, if you weren't provided a sufficient reason for your arrest or without warrant, so you could legally inform the court that you were arrested without reason and you were arrested, without a warrant, and that you deserved a fair trial. So suspension of habeas corpus means that habeas corpus was suspended and the Britishers could have free will to do anything and arrest anyone. Why is non-cooperation movement withdrawn, called off, suspended? So non-cooperation movement was suspended because of Chauri Chaura incident. Police station burnt and 22 policemen killed. So there was a mob of peasants, which attacked a police station. They attacked a police station. They burnt it to the ground, and close to 22 policemen were killed in that incident. So non-cooperation movement was all about non-violence, and Gandhiji specifically emphasized on the use of non-violence. So the Chauri Chaura incident violated all principles on which Gandhiji stood upon. So that's why he was horrified by this incident, and then he called it off. Moving on, why was Simon Commission boycotted? Only 7 British members, no Indian representatives. Why civil disobedience movement was withdrawn? So civil disobedience movement was started on 1930, and non-cooperation movement was started on 1920. Why was civil disobedience movement withdrawn? Gandhi-Evan Pact. These were some of the conditions in the Gandhi-Evan Pact. Congress attends second round table conference. Irwin allows manufacture of salt. Irwin releases political prisoners if not guilty. So these were some of the conditions which both parties, Gandhiji and Irwin, had to fulfill. Why was Mountbatten Plan accepted? Mountbatten Plan was basically focused on the partition of India. There were communal rights. So the people who accepted Mountbatten Plan accepted it because at that time communal rights were prevalent. If this is a rough diagram of India, so it's a bit messy, but this was India before the formation of Pakistan. So there were many regions in India where communal rights were breaking out, and the people who accepted Mountbatten Plan, they accepted Mountbatten Plan because they thought that it would solve the communal rights, that communal rights would stop to avoid civil war, because some people wouldn't be satisfied because they hadn't got a separate country, so there would be a civil war. Better to have small India with strong center rather than big India with weak center. The small India was basically India and Pakistan, and big India was without Pakistan and India as a whole. So moving on to the next question. Methods of early nationalist phase, the moderates. So the methods of the moderates were petitions, pleas, prayers, peaceful protests, meetings, speeches, memorandums, pamphlets, demonstrations, and deputations to British. The methods of assertive nationalist radicals, on the other hand, were wholly different from those of the moderates. Boycott, Swadeshi, national education, mass movement, revivalism, passive resistance, self-reliance, and personal sacrifices. So moving on. Impact of non-cooperation movement, 1920, and impact of civil disobedience movement, which happened on 1950. So remember the dates. I'm laying special emphasis on dates because it's important. If you want to frame answers, so dates should play an important role. Hindu-Muslim unity, abolition of untouchability, mass movement, Swadeshi, bold patriotism, nationalism, sacrifice, confidence among Indians. So confidence among Indians. Impact of civil disobedience. Moving on to the next question, impact of non-cooperation movement. So the impact of non-cooperation movement was Hindu-Muslim unity, abolition of untouchability, mass movement, Swadeshi, patriotism, nationalism, sacrifice, and confidence among Indians. So these were some of the impacts of non-cooperation movement. Impact of civil disobedience movement. Hindu-Muslim unity, mass movement, Swadeshi, bold patriotism, nationalism, sacrifice, confidence among Indians, popularized new methods like Prabhat Feris and pamphlets. Groups were formed like Vanar Sena for boys and Manjari Sena for girls, and women participated. I would also like to add that previous two videos have been uploaded. History class 10th, important names and important dates. So if you go to the channel is equal to classes Shivang, you would find all the important names and important dates, and separate videos have been made on each of them. Okay, so moving on. Provisions or clauses of Indian Independence Act. Provisions or clauses of Mountbatten Act. So we'll complete the first question first. So the Indian Independence Act, India and Pakistan were created, two separate dominions were created, boundary commission to demarcate boundaries. So when what states would belong to what country, when that was decided, then the boundary commission would decide the boundaries between the two dominions. Constituent Assembly would be formed for each of the two states, the two countries. Governor General for each country to be appointed, Office of Secretary of State to be abolished, treaties and agreements would cease to end, provisions made for distributing army and assets. So armies would be divided between Pakistan and India, and assets would also be divided. Princely states can join India or Pakistan or remain independent. So over here, I mentioned that treaties and agreements would cease to end. So there was a treaties which was made between the princely states and the British in the form of subsidiary alliance, wherein the British Empire would hold, the princely states would belong to the British Empire. So that treaty and that agreement ceased to exist. So therefore, the princely states were told that they could join either India or Pakistan or could remain independent. So these were the provisions or clauses of Indian Independence Act of 1947. Provisions or clauses of Mountbatten Plan. India and Pakistan would be created, boundary commission to demarcate boundaries, constituent assembly, princely states can join India or Pakistan or remain independent. Silat Sindh, Northwest Frontier Province can use plebiscite or referendum to decide. So these were some of the states which were provided an ultimatum of joining either India or Pakistan or remaining independent. Transfer of power by 15th August 1947. So a final date was issued to the British, by the British to India, that on 15th August 1947, a transfer of power will be held from the British to India, Indian governments and Pakistan government separately. Okay, so moving on to the next question, aims or objectives. Objectives of the early nationalist phase or moderates. The objectives were dominion status or self-government. So these were the objectives of moderates. I would like to emphasize over here that self-government in this case means self-government under British Empire. So the moderates stressed on self-government within the British Empire. Objectives of assertive nationalists or radicals. The radicals, on the other hand, emphasize on complete independence of Purna Swaraj. So self-government, but without interference of the British Empire. Objectives of INC or Indian National Congress. Unity, public opinion and demands. Objectives of the Muslim League. There's a problem scrolling down. Okay. Loyal to the British, the Muslim League decided that they would be loyal only to the British. No hostility towards the British. Check Congress. So check Congress means check Congress progress. Present needs of Muslims in India. Protect political rights of Muslims and protect political rights of Muslims. So this is one point. So before moving on to the next question, I would like to say that the notes in this PDF have been, the link to the PDF containing all the notes will be provided in the description given below in the video. And I'd also like to emphasize that important names and important dates. So videos have been made on important names of freedom fighters of India and important dates for special and important events in British rule in India. Okay. Objectives of non-cooperation movement. So let's scroll down. Self-government. Again, self-government without British interference. Annulment of Rowlatt Act. restore possession of Khalifa, Sultan of Turkey. Objectives of Forward Bloc. Forward Bloc was a party formed by Subhash Chandra Bose. Liberate India and provide a socialistic society. Abolition of Zamindari system, wherein landlords had complete right to collect revenue from the peasants or farmers that used to work in their lands. New credit or monetary system, introduction of new credit or monetary system, and create a rival government. So moving on. Objectives of INA or Azad Hind Fauj. INA is also known as Indian National Army, and Azad Hind Fauj is the Hindi abbreviation of Indian National Army. Power against the British and fight with modern weapons and create armed revolution. So this was the objective of INA or Azad Hind Fauj. So that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something from this video. This video will be uploaded to Is Equal to Classes Shivang. So the rest of the two videos, important names and important dates, be sure to check that out too. Stay home, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.